Hi, everyone. Good morning. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm here in New Zealand. My name is Grace Benedek Rooney, and I am super excited to welcome all of you from many, many different places across New Zealand today. I don't know about you, but I'm really excited to head into the holiday season and hopefully enjoy a great summer in New Zealand. But I know that many of you are joining from all over the place, as we've seen from the chat today. And I'm super, super thankful that all of you have come to join us. So you might have seen that I put a bit of an icebreaker poll up there, and I was hoping we might be able to solve an age-old question, but it looks like we're pretty much bang on 50-50 as to whether pineapple should belong on pizza or not. So I'm sure we'll keep debating that for quite some time. So, welcome to our final webinar for 2024. If you missed our last one, you can check it out on our YouTube channel. We have a Xero Developer YouTube channel, which is available. If you search for Xero Developer, you can scroll down on our homepage and you can find our playlist for webinars, which you will be able to access. Today we've got quite a fun little lineup for you with a number of speakers on board. We've got myself, obviously, who I've already introduced. We're joined by Cam, who will be talking a little bit about app adoption, which will be really interesting for you to hear. Millie's joining us, and she's going to be talking through the year in review of all the things that we've been getting up to this year. And we've got a very, very special guest, which is Robin Blackstone, who's our API support team lead, who we're going to do a little fireside chat with at the end before we roll into the Q&A. We also have our a couple of people from developer relations here to help out with the Q&A. So if you do have any questions for us today, please pop them in the Q&A, and our team, Brianna and Brian, are both here to support with that, and we'll also answer some questions at the end as well. So that's a little overview of what we're going to be discussing today. So we'll jump right into our first section, where I've just kind of pulled out some of the key questions and themes that I saw come through in a lot of the pre-submitted questions, which I wanted to run through. So the first one that popped up was there were a couple of people who asked about retrieving large amounts of data, or like how to pull that data in the best way possible within the limits that you have. We have actually just released a blog on this, which is quite timely. So I'd highly recommend that you go and have a look at that on devblog.xero.com. And we also have some little tips and tricks in amongst some of our documentation. So keep your eyes out for that as well when you're having a little look through. We also had a question come through about some best practices. One of the topics there was around token storage. We've actually just released a blog about this as well, so very, very timely too. You can find that also on the dev blog. Otherwise, for best practices, we do actually have a best practices section on the Developer Center, which goes through quite a range of different topics. So I encourage you to have a little look at that, and you might find what you're after. If there is something that you're really interested in learning, I'd love for you to pop that in the chat or the Q&A, or you're welcome to send us an email, and we'll pop that into our backlog of best practices docs that you want to hear from. I have seen a question just come through about recording of this webinar. We will be recording and uploading this webinar today, and it will go onto our YouTube channel, so you can watch it later in case there's something you want to rewatch. There was a question about test orgs. So we do have a demo company. We have some documentation on a dev center that digs into how you can access the demo company. But if you're a certified app, which I think the person who asked this question is, you can contact us API@Xero.com, and we will get a a free test org set up for you. So you're welcome to do that for us too. The next question that came up was keeping up to date on various different things to do with Xero Developer and the changes that we have. We do have a changelog, which I'll talk about in a moment, but you will also hear from Millie about various different channels. So just listen in a little bit later for that in this webinar. There are quite a number of questions about the XPM API and various changes coming through anytime soon. We are in our Christmas wind down period, so we don't have any API releases planned in the next couple of months, just because it's a quieter period over this time of year. So I can't share anything at the moment, but as soon as I know anything, we'll absolutely get those updates to you in the webinar, and of course throughout the channels too. There were a couple of apps who were wondering how they could access the bank feeds and payment services API. Both of those APIs are on approval only basis, so you will need to talk to our financial services partnerships team in order to get access to those APIs. The way to do that is to express interest through the form, which you can access via your app. So if you log into developer.xero.com, and you can, through there, put an application through for financial services. If you're having trouble finding that, or you're not sure where to navigate to do that, please do just send us an email to api@xero.com, and we'll point you in the right direction so that you can contact them about accessing those APIs. Lastly, we had a couple of questions about how to keep up to date as well, specifically about technical changes. We do have a changelog now, which we launched not too long ago this year, which is really exciting and very helpful. You can access that at developer.xero.com/changelog. It's also in our menu as well if you want to find it there too. And lucky last question, we had a couple of people actually asking if we had a really specific tech stack that you had to use to build your integration with Xero. We actually don't. It's totally open for you to use whatever technology you are familiar with or comfortable with or excited to use to build with our platform. So it's quite cool in the sense that you can build with the tools that you want. If you are wanting to get started with something, we do have a range of SDKs as well as sample apps which complement those SDKs, and that might be a helpful place for you to get started. But you're welcome to obviously roll your own and build your own SDK if you would like to do that instead with your own technology. I can see there's quite a few questions coming through in the webinar chat before I move on. If you could try and pop those questions into the Q&A function, just because it's a little bit easier for our team to make sure we're managing and answering all those questions. So if you really do want a question answered, highly recommend you put it in the Q&A functionality. Or if there's something else you really want to ask, please do submit it, and we'll try and get to those questions as time allows at the end of today's webinar. So that brings me to our first guest speaker, which is Cam. So welcome, Cam. I'm going to hand things over to you to talk about driving demand for apps in the App Store.
Awesome. Thanks, Grace, and hello, everyone. Great to be invited here to share a little bit about how we drive interest and awareness for apps. So I'm part of our ecosystem growth team, and really I'm focused on encouraging Xero customers and our accountant and bookkeeping partners to connect apps that make it easier to run their business. And really, if we go to the next slide, our overall approach is really about matching customers with the right apps. If we kind of zoom out and think about it, we've got over 4.2 million subscribers using Xero, plus a large number of accounting and bookkeeping partners on top of that. On the other hand, we've got over 1,000 apps. So really our job is around matching those two. We know our customers have pain points, apps have got solutions. So that's the role that we play in ecosystem growth. It's really that matchmaking and creating that shared benefit and shared value for us all. And there are really 3 key levels how we do that. I think at the broadest level, we kind of have our Xero plus apps joint proposition. I'll go into these in a bit more detail, along with some examples in a second. But yeah, so we have our broadest level, Xero plus apps, then the category level, where we think about promoting groups of apps according to functions or industries and collections. And then we have a more specific level at the app level, where we're really promoting specific apps. So I'll go into each of these 3 and give you examples. If we move to the next slide. So high level, broadest level, Xero and apps, this proposition is really around positioning Xero and apps as a solution, as a joint solution for businesses. Xero at its core does a fantastic job of core accounting, payroll, and payments, but we also know it won't do everything, which is why we believe in being a platform where partners can build tools that go wider or deeper. So promotion at this level is really focused on making sure our customers know that they can connect apps to Xero. Many don't, for example. That's about unpacking the benefits of doing that and how to go about it. So in this way, we drive value for all of our app partners and really create that rising tide. So I pulled out just a few examples across many of the surfaces that we use. You see there on the left of your screen, it's an example of an onboarding email. So around day 20, all new Xero customers get this as an intro to apps type of email. And that really just helps drive awareness of connecting apps, the Xero App Stores. It helps also drive visits to the App Store. Really, we encourage users to connect apps that they already use early on in their journey. And if they do that with a tool that they're already comfortable with, it makes it easier for people to see and appreciate the benefit of having them connected. Say, for example, having data flowing between products and really having that as a tangible example of how they can save time and effort and really kind of streamline or automate tasks. And when they do that, more likely to connect other apps. A couple of other examples you'll see here on our marketing website, Xero.com. You see this type of messaging where we can unpack some of those benefits. And we also have similar content on our support and learning site, Xero Central, where really it's slightly different there. It's really geared around providing educational resources, such as guides and articles about how apps can solve problems and make life easier. So if we go to the next slide. So categories. So yeah, this next level goes a layer down in promoting categories of apps. So it typically means often a function. So a function could be around bills and expenses or reporting, etc. But it can also be industries, verticals. You'll see the construction and trades example there on the right-hand side. Can also be slightly narrower collections, which be perhaps similar to a function, but are more specific. So it could be around a task such as employee onboarding or project management. And at this level, we're really identifying customers that have a problem to solve, or sometimes they will self-identify depending on the channel, and driving them towards a particular function or industry that solves that problem. And so here we're really trying to unpack the benefit that a type of app provides. And so, yeah, we're trying to aim to drive value for all apps within that category by driving users with an intent to the collection. So, example here, one of the campaigns we did for end of financial year, you see on the left here, we ran paid ads on Facebook to our existing customers, and breaking that down into functional topics around, say, controlling your expenses or simplifying employee management. And these take users to respective function pages on the Xero App Store. So, I mean, for example, we'll also promote functions like time tracking in most relevant placements, such as also within payroll email journey, where time tracking can help customers manage a task. I'll also add at this point, there are things that you can do to make sure, here specifically around our app partners, can do to make the most of this type of activity. So imagine we've driven a Xero customer to a collection that your app is in. Might be looking at 20 app tiles. Think about what's making someone click on your app. Have you got a 5-star review score? Is it immediately clear in your overview exactly what your app does and how it adds value? I think those things are really, really critical and entirely within your control, to capture a greater share of the visitors that we drive to these collections, who have some level of intent in the particular problem that your app solves for. Then if we go into the next slide, kind of thinking around specific app level activity, there's kind of 2 key ways that we do it around matching specific apps with customer needs. The first is all around recommendations. So you see we surface recommendations across a wide range of Xero places. And some of those screenshots there you see are from Xero Central. They're also on the Xero App Store, and also App Launcher within the main core Xero product. And typically you see a small number of app cards displayed. These are driven by our recommendations engine and using machine learning, and it's constantly trying to optimize to show apps that will get most people clicking and then connecting them as a way to ensure that it's showing the most relevant and valuable apps for specific types of customers. So that's recommendations, and then we'll also do some campaign and bespoke activity that's kind of above and beyond some of the extra the other activity that we run, and so additional promotional, more prominence, and particularly that could be including premium and growth partners, which those programs that Millie and Annie run, we really help bring them to life. And so, that could look like inclusion within specific campaigns, blogs, webinars, and that kind of thing. So I hope that gives you a sense of a little bit how we're thinking about driving demand for apps and the different levels in which we do that. And with that, I'll pass back to you, Grace.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Cam, for giving us an overview of all those different types of promotions that happen. I know that it keeps you all very busy getting apps in the right places for our customers to be able to find them. So thanks for sharing. I'm now going to invite Millie to join us, and Millie's going to help us out with sharing a year in review. There's heaps of really interesting things that's Millie is going to share. And I'd also love to invite you to share your own little highlights for your own businesses in the chat if you wish to, for your own years in review. Like, what's your highlight? And with that, I will hand over to Millie.
Perfect. Thanks, Grace. So hi, everyone. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Millie from the platform marketing team. So I'm going to take you through a bit of a look back of the year, showcasing all the exciting things we've done, from events and impactful content to innovative programs and updates on the Xero App Store. Next slide, please. Cool. So let's kick things off with events. We hosted 2 amazing XeroCons in London and Nashville, where we spotlighted the importance of apps and advisors to our accounting and bookkeeping community. We hit the road with 17 roadshows across Australia and New Zealand and 5 in the US. And we also brought our community together for 2 in-person meetups in Melbourne and London. So these events are an awesome way to connect with many of you, share updates, and learn more about how we can support your growth. Next, please, Grace. Cool. We've also been hard at work to produce fresh and engaging content to keep you informed and inspired. So we've reintroduced our quarterly webinars. We've reinvigorated the YouTube channels with new videos created by our evangelism team, including content around Xero App Store billing. And we've also got our blogs, newsletters, and social channels. They all got a refresh to deliver updated and valuable content ranging from positioning your app better on the Xero App Store to technical tips and peer learnings. We've also made some minor changes to the developer portal and refreshed the homepage with even more improvements on the way. So be sure to stay across these. You can follow us on our channels, subscribe to the Xero Developer blog, and find some great resources on the developer portal. Then we also have some new programs. So this year we also introduced several new and exciting programs. We updated our App Partner program to provide clearer guidance on how you can grow your business with Xero. And we've also launched a growth program pilot designed to help new and noteworthy apps sort of scale fast with Xero. So we're currently in the pilot phase of that at the moment. And then we've got continued focus on app quality improvement. So if you'd like to learn more about these programs, you can also find information on them on the developer portal in the Xero Developer blog as well. And then we have Xero App Store updates. So we've also made some updates to the Xero App Store this year to enhance your experience. So we've got new listing fields such as customer type, business size, free trial availability, and app tasks, which allow you to better target your apps to the right customers. So these fields can be updated in the developer portal. If you haven't done so already, I would recommend just jumping in and taking a few minutes to do that. It's pretty simple and important to help you get the right app to the right customer. We also extended XaaS billing to 49 countries, and we've recently launched a new top apps list. So that includes most popular apps, which is based on subscriptions, most recommended apps by your advisor, and most awarded, highlighting the apps that have been award winners globally. So these are going to be updated regularly. You can keep an eye out on the Xero App Store to see if you've made the list. And then we've also introduced some new technical requirements. So we've launched a change log to enable you to stay better updated. We've introduced a recertification process to maintain app quality, and we've also introduced high volume thresholds for the accounting API to improve platform stability. Next slide. Perfect. So as always, we're here to support you. You can find us in person at meetups, online in the quarterly webinars, on X, developerxero.com, or use a voice. And you can get help from the dev blog at xero.com, monthly newsletters, API updates, and API at xero.com. So we're looking forward to another great year filled with exciting things and getting the chance to get in front of you and meet you face to face. Have a safe and happy holiday. I'll pass back to you, Grace.
Thank you, Millie. We've certainly been busy getting all of those updates out to all of you. I've popped a little poll up there because I'm curious which thing you've been the most excited about this year. So please do answer that while we move into our next section. So we're now going to welcome Robin to join us. And Robin is our API support team lead, and he runs our team, who you will probably be familiar with if you have ever emailed api@xero.com. So Robin, welcome.
Thank you, Grace. Good morning.
Yes, good evening to you. You're joining from the UK.
Yes, it's always weird when we have these meetings and it's morning for some of us and evening for the others.
Yeah,
but
you're
we're
not quite sure what season or what day of time of the day to use.
And the season for that matter. It's the depth of winter here as well. But thank you.
Yeah, I guess where I'd love to start first is ask you to share a little bit about you and your background and how you've got to the role that you're currently in.
Yeah, of course. I first became aware of accounting about 15 years ago. I worked for an accountancy practice. I was doing all the stuff that the accountants didn't do, one of which was sort of the IT side of things. doing a lot of the billing as well, sending invoices out to customers. And we were an early adopter of Xero. We built an integration that connected our back-end billing system into Xero, which is really useful because that saved me personally a load of time every month sending invoices out. I can now email them. So that was using the API maybe 10 years ago. I then joined Xero 9 years ago, initially doing customer support in the main CX team. And then for the last 7 years, I've been in the API support team. So we're answering questions from developers, probably most of the audience of this webinar.
Yeah, that's very true. I know that one of your team, Brianna, is on the webinar today. She's been helping out with answering questions, which is super helpful. I was wondering if you might be able to share a little bit more about like who is in your team.
Yes, so we've got the team split between New Zealand and the UK, and that provides us quite a good coverage of the different time zones. So in New Zealand, you'll find Brianna and Welly, and then in the UK, it's myself, Sally, and Audrey. And it's a small team within a much larger team. So Xero has a massive CX customer experience team, which handle all sorts of first line support. But we're that sort of within that larger team, a smaller niche specialist team that answering the API questions. But in the team, we've got quite a good mix. So we've got some people that have got really strong accounting backgrounds, others have got more technical backgrounds. So between us, we're able to answer most of the questions that come our way. And if not, we've got the skills to be able to troubleshoot it and investigate the question or the issue that people are seeing.
That's great. I mean, I know that a number of people joining definitely will have spoken to some of the folk there, and it's great that they have that kind of mix of various different pieces of knowledge that they can draw on. I was curious if you might be able to share, what you might do on a day-to-day, like, other than, is it just tickets? Is it other things?
Well, so the bulk of it is answering cases that come in. So if you email api@xero.com, that comes through to our team. We look at those cases. There's a bit of a triage involved there. So some cases we'll be able to answer off the bat. Some will be best answered by the app themselves. We might get a query. The customers come to us because their app isn't importing invoices correctly. And depending on where that error is, we either see it on our logs and be able to give some sort of advice, or we'll have to push them back to the app that's doing the importing. Typically, it's much better if the app could contact us directly, but that's not always the case. And there's also some cases that we would be passing off to other teams, depending on the sort of the question that we get. The other big part of what we do is handling incidents. So if we spot that something's wrong, not working correctly, we're sort of the first line there to sort of alert the product teams to take a closer look to see if we've got some sort of issue on our side that we can jump on quickly. We can help triage that, replicate the problem, and work with them to get that solved as quickly as we can.
Well, it's really nice to hear that you are able to support our community in those ways. In that vein, I know you obviously get a lot of cases and emails for requests for help. I was wondering if you might have any tips you might be able to share with our community to help them get their queries answered. I saw actually a couple of things in this vein pop through in chat and Q&A so far today. So I feel like that might be a super relevant thing to dig into.
Yeah, it's interesting because we might get a page long of detail of what's going wrong, and that's great because the more detail you can provide, the better. The worst thing we can get is when you get one sentence, "This app isn't importing my invoices," and then we've got to go push back and ask lots more questions. So, like, which app, which organization, what invoices? There's all sorts of information we need to push back and get, and the more that when you're raising that case, the more you can provide us, the better. To give some more sort of specific examples, things like the client ID for the app you're using, that's really, really useful. And timestamp. Those two things alone allow us to look at the logs. We can then sort of narrow down what might be going wrong. It's also useful to understand a bit of the context about what people are building. So they might come to us with a question. and they're trying to do something, but it's really, really specific, but we don't really understand why they're trying to do that. And it might be that what they're trying to do can't be done. There's a system limitation or it's a feature request. But if they can give us more detail about what they're trying to do, what the end goal is. So, for example, I want a specific report that doesn't exist. Okay, why do you need that report? What's that report going to show you? What's the end goal? Why is that report necessary? And then we can provide alternatives. Well, if you use this report, it will show you the same things, or you can combine this report and this report. Would be an example there. So the more context that you can give as to what you're trying to do, what you've tried so far, what's gone wrong, error messages, screenshots. Whilst it may feel it's a bit of a chore to sort of document all the problems, it can be really useful for us because it will speed things up. We can probably come back with an answer the first time, or the less backwards and forwards we can do, the better. It's better for everybody. It's better for us. It's better for you. So yeah, there's the sort of things that people can do to sort of improve their chances of a quick response, and cut down the amounts of backwards and forwards.
Yeah, I know that that might be helpful for a few people. I actually gonna throw a question at you actually that I saw come through in some of our pre-submitted questions for one of the registrations we got overnight for today's webinar, which is are they able to get help from your team to debug their code?
It's an interesting one because, I mean, we offer SDKs in, I think, 6 different languages, and between the team, we don't have that expertise. So pure debugging of the code is beyond what we can provide, but we can do a lot of other stuff. If you ask us, how do I write in Python a query to retrieve all the invoices, we won't be able to help you. But we can tell you what API call would get all the invoices. We can coach you through doing that on Postman. And then once you're in Postman, you can then export it in any number of languages. So we can't specifically debug specific programming language issues, but we can tell you how the API works. We can support you through how the API call we made. From then, it would be up to the developer asking the question to put that into their own programming language that they're going to use.
Yeah, cool. I think that makes sense. And yeah, I know that Postman is a tool that gets used quite a lot. So it sounds like a good approach to have. I also have just seen in the chat, I just wanted to mention Nicholas, thanks for your lovely comment there about Robin and the rest of the API support team. I'm glad that they've been able to help you a lot with some of the things that you have been needing help with over time. If you do have any specific questions, please do pop them into the Q&A and we'll try and get through some of the audience questions as well.
I just want to say it's nice to get some feedback, because generally speaking, people contact support because something's gone wrong. We get very few cases where they message in to say, "Oh, everything's gone right today." We wish that would happen more, but generally people are getting in touch because something's gone wrong. So it's always nice to hear the positives, and we love doing the XeroCon meetups as well. And anytime we can get in touch with developers is always good and positive for us, and it puts a much more positive spin on our day-to-day work.
That's it's always fun getting to engage with apps in person. I know you've been to quite a few XeroCons, right, Robin?
Yeah, I've done a few now in the London ones, and it's a great experience just to do that face-to-face meetup. By default, what we do is very remote, and yeah, just that human interaction is great. And like I said, to get that positive experience is good as well. So yeah, if people haven't been to XeroCon and have the chance to go, I definitely recommend it. And it's a massive networking opportunity, and
yeah. It is. It's like nothing else you can ever experience, I don't think. Final question before I wrap into the rest of the Q&A and invite the other speakers to join us. I was just wondering if you might be able to share some kind of insights or information for people on the call who might need to access support from your team over the holiday period.
So like most of the world will be sort of taken a bit of a rest over Christmas. We do have a skeleton crew that was going to be monitoring the support queue. So carry on emailing API@xero.com over the break. What we will do though is we triage those cases. We'll be looking at the urgent ones. The less urgent stuff we'll wait until the new year. That doesn't mean that all tools are down. We've got a lot of automated stuff going on as well behind the scenes, so we can detect when there's a problem, and that ultimately wakes people up should there be any bigger problems than that. But so yeah, carry on emailing us, but we will be triaging and prioritizing the more urgent cases over that period.
Cool. That's good to hear. Thank you, Robin, for joining us. I'm going to invite Millie and Cam to join us too. We're going to roll into some other Q&A for today. So first up, I'm just going to ask Cam and Millie. We got a question that came through about best practices for improving visibility on the Xero App Store. Do you have any tips you might be able to share?
Yeah, I can jump in, and then maybe Millie, you can add anything else you'd want. I'd say that the key thing really is to two things. So one, optimize your listing, and then two, make sure that you've added all the information in the dev portal. So in terms of optimizing your listing, I kind of mentioned before, imagine a Xero customer is there, they're selecting, looking at multiple apps. I think whatever makes it super clear, both in terms of what your app does, but also the value that it provides. I think that's really key. So making sure your overview is clear, punchy, and really customer focused. But things right throughout your app listing, they could be the images, video, really make use of the options that you have there. I think there's a really useful guide in the dev portal around things that you can do to optimize your listing. Reviews is another one. We know specifically because these are verified Xero users, that they really mean a lot for other kind of prospective Xero customers looking at your app. So I'd say kind of all of those things make a big difference. We see a huge range in conversion rate from a visitor when they're kind of on your app listing through to clicking get this app, and a lot of it comes down to things that are within your control. And then, as I mentioned, the second piece, information within the dev portal, making sure that you've updated information there. We've got some new fields, jobs to be done, and target audience. Those things help us, when we're kind of playing that matchmaking role. So really make sure that those are filled out, accurate, and complete. Anything else to add, Millie?
I'll just add that a lot of you have so much great content that already exists on your website. So just consider lifting and shifting and bringing it over into the areas of your app listing that actually make sense. As Cam mentioned, we do have a guide on the developer portal on optimizing your listing, and that walks you through each area on the listing and what we would expect to see, and some tips for how to make the most of that. We also have specific guides on positioning your app and reviews, and how to gather and respond to reviews correctly. So there's heaps of guides there. I'd recommend jumping onto the developer portal and just having a good read.
Cool. Thanks for sharing that. Hopefully there's some helpful tips there for those who are wanting to update their listing. We had a question come through about how do I get certified as a developer partner, and how do I get my app certified? All of our information about certification is available on our developer center, developer.xero.com. You can apply to become a developer partner from the website. And if you want to certify your app, you can log into your account, and via your app, you can apply. If you're not sure which of those paths is right for you, you are welcome to contact us, and our team can provide you kind of specific guidance on what type of application you should be submitting to partner with us. While we're kind of in the technical vein, we have another question that came through, which is, I'm going to throw at Robin. which is how can I access all the available API endpoints and testing for all the different types of reports?
I think the first thing would be to look at our API Explorer. So fire up the demo company, connect that up to the API Explorer. You'll then be able to play with the endpoints available on there. We've got different APIs. 95% of use cases will be using our accounting API, and that is all free to access. You've got there's no restrictions there. The other endpoints, the other APIs, some of them are restricted for various reasons. But yeah, you can get 95% of the accounting data through the accounting endpoint. And yeah, using API Explorer and Postman would be the best way to sort of dive in there without having to code anything.
Cool. Thanks, Robin. I also can see we got a question about how to solve invalid grant errors that we get through the API. Is there anything you can give us a suggestion there to try?
That's a perennial one, but it's really, really complicated to explain. I'll do my best. So the refresh tokens are by default valid for 60 days. However, once they've been used, they expire after 30 minutes. So typically what happens is the app is trying to reuse a token that's already been used. So if you're getting that error, you need to look at how you're handling the tokens. And one common scenario is where we've got 2 users within the app, but it's only one Xero user on the Xero side. So they're both logged into the same user on the Xero side, which is 1 token, but on the app side, they might see it as 2 tokens. And so the first token gets refreshed and that will expire the second one and vice versa. So it's all down to token handling and having to review how that works. And it's important to remember that it's the Xero user that owns the token. But if they're getting that error, definitely email us on api@xero.com and we'll be able to sort of guide you through some troubleshooting for that.
Cool. Hopefully that helps whoever it is that's getting the error, because I am sure that's been a bit tricky to try and figure out what's going on. Cam, I saw a question pop up in the webinar chat, which was someone wondering if there's a way to know if your app is part of the recommendations that are going out to customers.
So, I mean, it probably depends on kind of which recommendations, but for the majority of the recommendations that I showed on screen there, no, it is driven by machine learning and very much controlled by that recommendations engine. So we don't and aren't able to share that. Things like the more kind of manual version of recommendations, things like featured apps, then definitely you would be notified about that inclusion in there. Plus, no doubt see the impact of that as well.
Cool. Thank you, Cam. I can see in the Q&A we had a question come through, which is the application for Bank Feeds API open to non-financial services partner? I've tried this process, but I was told I need to be a bank or financial provider. Yes, that's correct. You do need to be a bank or a financial provider in order to access those APIs, which is why we have an application process. The conversation to decide on whether you fit into that category or not is handled by the team. So please do submit the application through to to express your interest, and then the team will kind of help make a decision as to whether that's a relevant API, depending on your status as a bank or financial services provider. I would say though, like if there's a specific feature that you are really trying to access, like I'd really be interested in hearing your feedback on what feature it is that you're after. So please do flick us an email through to the api@xero.com, because we'd be super interested to hear what the use case is if you've tried to go through before and thinking about pursuing that again. We also had a question come through about information on Xero App Store subscriptions. So we do have some content in the works that should be launching early next year. If you have specific things that you want more information about, again, we can tailor some of the content that we have to try and address some of that. I know we've done that this year where we're getting questions around a specific feature, and we created some content to support that. So I'd really welcome your input to be able to take that in and support what we have on our backlog. So we're creating the content that you want to see ultimately. And I think lucky last question, unless anything comes through last minute here, is going to be for Cam, which is about App Launcher and how that works with the kind of recommendations that you were talking about.
Yeah, cool. So App Launcher, just to be clear, the little nine dots top right when you're logged into Xero. There's two parts to that. So like the first part is essentially designed as a home for connected apps. So essentially a shortcut from within Xero to open an app that the user already has connected. So if you're talking about showing up there, then just need to complete a very easy configuration by exposing the URL. So I would encourage everyone, if you haven't already done that, make sure you do that. Then the instructions will be on dev.xero, and that's really straightforward. In terms of then part of like the section below that on App Launcher, that's really around discovering new apps, and I mean, we're experimenting here with things. Really, we're trying to show the most relevant apps in the most relevant ways possible. And so, yeah, things are changing there. But yeah, again, it's driven by machine learning. So in terms of things that you could do to show up there, there's no.
Oh, I think we've lost your sound there, Cam, but that's right.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you
now. Okay, sorry. The office internet is unstable apparently. Yeah, sorry. So in terms of things that you can control, that could potentially help, things like, as we plug more data into the recommendations engine, then it can factor in more things. So in the future, if your review score may influence it. So it's just, I guess, reinforcing some of those things we've already talked about. If you optimize the things that within your control, puts you in a better position to be surfaced in the likes of those recommendations.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Cam. Well, with that, I am going to wrap us up for today on our webinar. Thank you to Cam and Millie for your great presentations, and also for Robin for joining us for a little fireside chat at the end there. It was also really nice to have so many wonderful questions from our whole audience, and also nice to hear a bit of your love for Robin's team too. We are wishing all of you a very, very safe and happy holidays from all of the Xero Developer team. No matter where you are in the world, we hope you have a little bit of a break, and we look forward to having a fantastic 2025 with all of you too. So we'll see you all then. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.